Ever wondered why you always seem to get sick and tired when you're stressed? Or why you have no control over what you eat or drink? Yep, that's not a coincidence. Welcome to stress, the normal body response that's trying to kill us. In this video, I'm going to talk about what stress is, the different types, and how we need to manage it. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Sinan, the GP, source on all things health related for you and your family. Let me ask you a question. Is stress bad for you? Intuitively, you're thinking, well, yeah, of course it is, and you'd be right, but there is one caveat. Stress is bad for us long term when it doesn't go away. Short-term stress, on the other hand, or acute stress, is good for us, necessary even for survival. Let's have a look at the different types of stress. There are two main types that we're interested in. Acute stress. This is everyday life stuff. Traffic, visiting the in-laws, crazy kids, arguing with your spouse, or even secondary to things you actually enjoy doing, like trying something new, like a YouTube talk, or even public speaking. A little stress goes a long way. It helps us to focus and to bring our A game on. Then there's chronic stress. This is the difference between arguing with your spouse now and again and getting a protracted divorce. It's stress that is almost always there at some level, gnawing away, sometimes consciously, often beneath the surface. Acute stress is synonymous with life's ups and downs, and we're very well adjusted to dealing with it and have been for thousands of years. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is a much newer and insidious phenomenon. Almost everyone suffers with it, and the worst thing is, most people don't even know they have it. It can also be due to one big thing or a build-up of loads of smaller pressures. This can often make it very difficult to pin down. Before we look into why chronic stress is a bad thing, let's have a look at how our body reacts to acute stress in the short term. Let's imagine you're asleep and you hear an unfamiliar noise downstairs or from another part of the house. You freak out. Within seconds, a cascade of chemicals is released, making your heart pump twice as fast. Our muscles contract and the hair on the back of our arms stand on end. Within the blink of an eye, you've just gone from sedate, half asleep, to your super spidey senses tingling, ready for anything, primed to fight or run a mile. You get up, fumble around and edge towards the noise. Every silhouette looks like a person, every sound heightened, every breath almost in slow motion. Everything is primed, ready for anything. And then phew! Sweet relief, nothing there. The mop fell down and clattered into the floor. That was what made the noise. Everything else looks fine, no windows broken, your pants surprisingly unsoiled. You clamber back into bed, congratulating yourself on your bravado while the chemicals slowly fade away. Your heart rate returns to its normal rate, muscles relax, breathing smooth. Within 5 minutes, you're back asleep like nothing ever happened. This is what we mean by good stress. In this situation, you want to be in the zone immediately. You don't want to be chilled out and relaxed if there's an intruder in your house, or if you've got an exam, or you're at the airport with 3 kids for that matter. You need that burst of energy, that literal adrenaline rush for as long as you need it. And as soon as you don't, i.e. the intruder threat disappears, the exam is over, or you've reached your holiday destination, i.e. the stress has passed, the chemicals disappear. Normality is restored. But what happens if the moment or the stressor doesn't pass? And it's just there, almost all the time. Let's take the divorce example. Your body still mounts the same response, albeit slower. What do you think happens when those chemicals that get your heart racing, your muscles primed, intensely focused, goes on for ages? Those chemicals aren't supposed to be raised for long periods of time, so you get sick. It's physically and mentally harmful. In fact, you get an increased risk of heart attacks, stroke, and a weakened immune system. That's kind of why we're always tired and ill, and this is our body warning us. This is what we mean by bad stress or chronic stress, the one that is killing us slowly. If you're wondering how common it is, the short answer is very. 1 out of every 2 people I see in clinic are chronically stressed. That means at least 1 out of every other person is fighting a torrent of chemical signals that are way out of balance. Some people come to talk about this and assume it's a normal part of life, but most have no idea that they're stressed and almost always have no idea how it will physically devastate them. So how do you know if you're chronically stressed? Some of the most common symptoms are quite vague, things like unexplained chronic pain, sleep problems, indigestion, lack of mojo, lack of motivation or get up and go, difficulty concentrating, and fatigue. For the eagle-eyed among you, these symptoms may seem a little familiar to the symptoms of depression, and you'd be right, and it's not a coincidence. Stress is on that continuum of disease that starts as acute stress, which can become chronic stress that can easily morph into low mood, anxiety, and depression. Stress is not a psychiatric diagnosis, but it is closely linked to your mental health. A lot of my patients have some of these symptoms due to other reasons. For example, you may have pain because you're arthritic, or sleep problems because you work night shifts. For those patients with loads of other issues going on, I find it helpful to look at behavioural changes. If you find the symptoms too non-specific, i.e. there are other reasons why you may be tired or have difficulty concentrating, then look at your behaviours. For me, if I'm stressed, I almost never realise it. It always takes someone else to tell me, but actually the warning signs are always there. For me, I always wake up early and preoccupied. I eat like a horse and I'm constantly irritable. Every time, like clockwork. I'm pretty sure you'll have your pattern too. I guess the key point here is, why do we find it difficult to know that we're chronically stressed? I guess it's because we're often distracted, going a mile a minute and rarely out of our own heads. Tackling this forms a big part of how we manage chronic stress. So how do we manage it? Well, manage here is a very deliberate choice of words. Stress isn't like junk food or smoking that we can literally fully eliminate from our lives. There will always be acute and chronic stressors. It doesn't matter what type of life you lead. The real question is, how do we manage it? Here are my top tips. Reflect. One of my personal bugbears is that we don't reflect enough on our predicament. We can do this to foster gratitude for all the good, but also some reflection on our events and feelings allows us to see how much we're coping with at any given time. It's almost always a surprise to think on how much we juggle in our lives. Reflecting on this helps us to understand why we feel stressed and why it's okay. Time management can help too. Some adjustments to the way we organise our time can help us feel more in control of the tasks that we face and more able to handle pressure. For example, think about your best time of day. For me, it's early morning, and for most people, they run optimally at about 10:30 in the morning, while for some, it's best at night. I'm a self-confessed listaholic. I have lists for my lists. I find them really helpful to focus on what bothers me the most or is most important and get it done. Or on the flip side, if it can wait to a time when I'm in a better headspace, push it back. Set small and achievable goals. When I'm under pressure, I often set completely unrealistic goals and try to do too much at once that I don't achieve and then get even more stressed and even more frustrated. Chunk your tasks down into small, manageable bits and attack them one at a time, and reward yourself when you manage them. Another thing is to develop emotional resilience. The key word here is develop. Emotional resilience is our ability to tolerate stress, bounce back from difficult situations, and adapt in challenging circumstances. This is not a personality trait. It is something we can develop by being a straight shooter, being assertive, and just saying no, especially when other people's demands are unrealistic. Exercise. Exercise cures a multitude of sins. Walk it off, row it off, swim it off. Move, get out of your own head and break the chronic stress cycle. As an added tip, I strongly recommend you get outside for this. Check the link below to find out more about ecotherapy, a way of improving your well-being and self-esteem by spending time in nature. Then there's a whole heap of other stuff that I call self-care that includes relaxation techniques like meditation, yoga, mindfulness, breathing techniques. If it's a little too esoteric for your taste, just go with a simple hobby, colouring or painting, knitting, gardening. The choices are limitless. A lot of my patients have found the meditation apps to be quite helpful, so it is something to consider. If you're still struggling, another good option is to volunteer. A major double whammy, a selfless act in a seemingly uncaring world. This does wonders for your perspective and resilience. Definitely one of my top tips. Talk it out too. A problem shared is a problem halved. Just telling your best friend or a family member what's going on in your life, how it's affecting you, is often half the battle. It is the very physical manifestation of not being alone. Everything seems much worse when you're alone. When you share, that bad doesn't seem so bad, and the good stuff seems even better. Taking this one step further, a therapist can be helpful with talking therapy, such as CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies, or mindfulness-based stress reduction, which combines mindfulness and meditation and yoga with a focus on reducing stress. Rarely, depending on the context, medication may be appropriate to help you through a rough patch, to help with things like sleep, anxiety, and physical symptoms exacerbated by stress, such as irritable bowel syndrome or high blood pressure. Whatever you choose, find something that works for you and stick with it for at least 2 weeks. Remember, one of the challenges with stress is knowing we even have it. So if you notice that you start to deviate from your usual daily pattern or ebb and flow, then that's a really good time to take stock. For example, diet. If it starts to slide and there's no other explanation, then consider stress. If you go from 1 takeout a fortnight to 3 on the trot, something ain't right. Similarly, alcohol, caffeine, drugs, chocolates, cigarettes, when we feel out of control, and chronic stress will do that to us, we start to reach for the warm embrace of our favourite comfort foods and coping mechanisms. These are mega red flags that something's not right, and that something could be stress. Listen, what I say next is really important, and I need you to hear me. There will be times when you're in a deep funk and you just can't shake it, even if you're aware of it, and you've tried this and that and nothing seems to work. Don't beat yourself up and get in touch with a healthcare professional. We've all been there, and there's nothing wrong with getting a little extra help when we need it. I honestly cannot tell you the number of patients who have avoided seeking help because they felt weak or too low, or just thinking that nothing could be done. There is always something that can be done, and there will always be someone willing to listen and to help. Here are my take-home messages. Chronic stress is insanely common. Literally, ask yourself or anyone you love, do I or do they have it? We're all probably stressed, so we need to have some management techniques up our sleeve to counteract this. A strategy for stress, if you like. This is no different to how we would approach food and exercise. We need a strategy and a tactic to stay one step ahead of the curve. Keep one go-to stress buster in your back pocket and use when you need it. Simple breathing techniques or a mantra may be enough. Find the ones that work and weave them into the narrative of your daily and weekly life. There will be mental peaks and troughs. This much is a given. If you're not feeling like you can climb out of the troughs, reach out to a healthcare professional. If you found today's topic useful, don't forget to share with your friends and family and click the subscribe button to stay in the loop. You can find out more at drsinanthegp.com. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future topics, I'd love to hear from you, so do message in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, stay healthy.